Hey guys, my name is Jamin. Thanks so much for visiting my channel. In this video, I have an HP Chromebook 11 G6. I'm going to show you how to replace the LCD screen. So first thing to note, power down the computer, make sure it's off and unplugged from your charger. We don't want any power running through it. But we also need to unplug the battery from the motherboard. If we don't unplug the battery and there's a little bit of power running through the motherboard, when we plug the LCD in, it could fry it instantly. So you definitely don't want to do that. So we got to undo the battery from the motherboard. And to do that, we need to get inside the computer. So flip the computer over, we'll try to access the bottom case. So we have 3 screws on either side and then 2 there in the middle. I'm going to take all those screws out. One little reminder here about screws in computers is that not all screws are the same size. If you notice, that one's kind of long and all the other screws in this bottom case are shorter. The longer ones go here. So as you go through a computer, make sure you're setting aside the screws. You know which screws go where because they're not all the same size. And if you put the wrong screw into the wrong hole, you could damage some components. After you've taken all the screws up, we're going to flip the computer around. And then you see this seam going across your palm rest. We're going to take our small flat pry tool. We're going to go across that seam all the way across and pry the palm rest up from the base of the computer. So now that the palm rest is released, we can't just tear it right off. If you guys can see in there's a large ribbon cable coming from your keyboard that's connected to the motherboard, and there's a smaller ribbon cable coming from the touchpad that's connected. So we have to unconnect those before just ripping off the palm rest. I'm going to take my small flat plastic pry tool and I'm going to unconnect those, and then I'm going to show you what I did once I can get you a better angle. So that's how you would get your palm rest off. The way that I got those cables out, the large ribbon cable from the keyboard went here, the small ribbon cable from the touchpad went there. I'll zoom in on that. The way to operate these, you've got to be very careful because the clips are very fragile. If it breaks, you most likely won't be able to find a replacement, and then your ribbon cable won't ever be secure again. So make sure you don't break these. The way to do it, you slide it under the black clip and that pops it up. And if it doesn't pop it up, just give it a little angle and that'll pop it up. It opens almost like a book cover. And after I unplug it, I like putting it back down just for safety so it doesn't get caught on anything. This one is a little smaller and the clip is white, but same thing, you just pop the white clip up, take the ribbon cable out, and then put the white clip back down. And again, very fragile, be very careful. Now to unplug the battery plugs in right here, and there's some black tape on it. I'm gonna take my small flat plastic pry tool, talking intro. I'm going to take my small plastic pry tool and try to get that tape up so I can show you how we're going to unplug this battery. Be careful when peeling up tape from cables. Sometimes it's very sticky, and if you just rip it off, you can damage the cable that it's stuck to. Okay, so right there, when you guys peel that black tape up, you can see in your computer that the battery plug has a grip on either side, so you don't have to pull on the wires to unplug it. You can use a pry tool pushing on either side, or you can use your fingernails on either side like I'm gonna do, and just grab the grip on either side and pull the battery plug out like that. Now that the LCD cable is unplugged, we're gonna start working on our LCD assembly here to get the LCD out. As you see, there are no screws anywhere on here. It's just held on by double-sided tape. So we're going to take our pry tool and go across the seam of this now, just like we did on the palm rest, and slowly, gently pry up the bezel from the LCD. Now be very careful here, because just like you don't want to put your pry tool too far in on the palm rest, you definitely don't want to do it here. You could damage your LCD screen, you could damage some wires inside. So keep it on the edge and pull up the bezel. And then oftentimes, once you get a side started, you don't need the pry tool anymore. You can just gently, or not so gently if it's stuck down, just go along, slowly, a little at a time, peel up that bezel. One super pain in this computer is this plastic part right here, this hinge cover. This needs to come off. It's not screwed down. You've got to take your pry tool and pop it off of the bezel to get that off. So that's kind of a pain. I'm going to try to do that without breaking it. One thing I did note, this black cover that protects the board into your LCD, that came up a lot with the bezel. It stuck to the bezel and it came up. So be careful of that. Be careful you don't damage the board in there. But I've actually managed to get the bezel up, bent down a little bit so I can access my LCD without taking it entirely off. So I'm just going to leave it like that. The LCD is held in by 2 screws on top, 2 screws on the bottom. I'll take those out. I would usually prefer to take the bezel clean off, but that hinge cover that I showed you is so tightly secured onto this bezel. I don't know about yours, but I'm pretty sure that I'm going to break it trying to separate it from that hinge cover. So I'm just going to take what I can get. I can access my LCD. I'm just going to take it. The next thing you have to do down here is the other side of your LCD cable. It's held onto the back of the LCD by some tape. So I'm going to peel that tape up. I'm going to use my metal pry tool because that tape's on there pretty good. I don't think my plastic one's going to do anything. There we go. And again, as with any cables in a computer, be very careful to not damage them as you're pulling the LCD cable off. So I'm not going to tear this tape right off. I'm going nice and slow. A millimeter at a time. There we go. Now I've freed the LCD cable. I'm just going to push it out one side at a time from the port. And now I have my LCD out. So I'm going to put this over here. I'm going to grab my replacement LCD over here, bring it over. I'm going to plug this into the port to replace the LCD. Get it in there nice and flush. It may take a while if you've never done this before. Just be patient, don't push it, don't force it, don't break it. And I'll put that tape down as best I can. And that's how you replace the LCD. I'm gonna flip it back over now. So that's the video, how to replace the LCD screen. If you guys are looking for help finding a replacement screen, I'll have a link above. Also below in the description, it'll have many of the replacement parts in this specific model computer, as well as any tools or supplies you may need to access those parts. If you have any questions, check out the FAQs below in the description. It could save you some time getting an answer. If you do need to leave me a question or comment, please do. I do try to get to those a couple times a day at least. As always, please like and share if this video was helpful. If you think it can help someone else, feel free to subscribe if you enjoy DIY computer content like this. And for those of you that want to support the channel a little further and leave a small donation, there's a couple different ways you can do that. First, right below the video to the right-hand side, you'll see the Super Thanks button. You can click on that. You can select a tip amount here. Second way, you can use your Cash App. Find me at $PC Helper. You can leave a dollar amount and you can even leave a little note. Thank you so much for watching, guys. I look forward to seeing you on my next video.